Good afternoon. Depending on where you are, it might be morning here at Kaplan Morrell. We're getting closer and closer to Day of the Dead and Halloween, and as you can see, things are a little morbid here. And I'm sitting here in front of one of my favorite decorations, thanks to my dear sweet mother who gave this to me as a birthday present. Yes, this is the kind of presents my mother gave me, but I was like 30. And it is a fabulous funeral scene. And there's a little bit of a story with each of the pieces, but Mrs. Morrell doesn't like me telling this story, so that will be for a later video. But today we are talking about, again, death and mayhem and dying and workers' compensation. And last week we did a video on what happens if you die because of a work injury. What are your rights? What are your benefits? And frankly, if you're dead, well, you don't have many rights. So it's really more properly, what are your family's rights, etc. So feel free to look at that video, and we'll have it on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere else. But the next question is what if you have a workers' compensation claim and you die and it's completely not related, i.e. your death is not related at all due to the work injury? What happens to your claim? Does your family get anything? Do you still get something for it, etc.? And typically the answer is if you pass away during a workers' compensation claim not related at all to the work comp claim, then the claim sort of dies with you. One of the things that workers' compensation does is it sets forth a bunch of benefits and issues. There are about 8 benefits and about 6 issues that govern a workers' compensation claim. And some of the benefits you might get, some of the benefits you might not, depending on your claim. But when you die, for example, okay, the medical bills, there will not be any more medical bills because you're not getting any more medical care. Any of the medical expenses you incurred prior to death, obviously those still have to be covered. Lost wage benefits end because you're dead, and now the real reason you're not working is because you're dead. I could insert a joke about being an extra in a zombie movie, etc., but I won't. And then there's also a benefit once you're at max medical improvement called permanent partial disability, and that's where you are entitled to a certain amount of money over time for what's called your permanent impairment. And that benefit gets paid out every 2 weeks and could extend 6 months, a year, even I've seen as much as 3 years of benefits for your permanent impairment. And if you die before that time frame is done, that also extinguishes with you as well. It's not like your family can say, hey, this was a bird in hand and we should get it as part of his estate. So death really does kind of end a workers' compensation claim. Now, not all deaths that occur aren't related to the work injury. I mean, there are some that could be, even if it's not related directly to the work comp injury. And let me explain what I mean by that. If, for example, you die because you are involved in a horrific automobile accident and you are coming from or going to medical care for your work injury, then that car accident and your death would be covered under workers' compensation, and your family, if you have dependents, see our last video for that, would be entitled to benefits because of the death. Similarly, and kind of morbidly, if you died because of the treatment, let's say they did a surgery and something went horrifically wrong and you died during a surgery, died during treatment, that too would be covered under workers' compensation, and your family and dependents would be entitled to benefits. And then the third thing that we've had, and it's really sad, and it's even more sad because I've had 4 clients in the last 25 years do this, but we've had 4 clients commit suicide, and the injury, the depression as a result of the injury, contributed to the depression to the point that they were suicidal. And sadly, but fortunately, I was able to make a claim for benefits for their dependents under workers' compensation as well. But it gets challenging to be able to show, hey, it was the work injury that really either led to the depression or it was the work injury that aggravated the depression to the point that the client committed suicide. In none of the cases really did they leave a note. Well, there was one where it was left a note, but obviously they don't confer with me prior to writing the note, because I would have done something, I would have counseled something different. So anyway, that's what happens if you are injured on the job and you die afterwards, but it may not necessarily be related to the work injury. As always, things are terribly complicated in workers' compensation. They are often fact, detail dependent, and sometimes it's the tiniest little fact that turns a case one way or the other. And that's why we always recommend, if you or someone you love has been injured on the job in Colorado, or if they were injured elsewhere but they were hired in Colorado, to feel free to give us a call at 970-356-9898 so we can offer you a free consultation. There's no obligation. It's all totally confidential. And you get someone as charming as me talking with you to see what your rights are, and then you can make an informed decision. As always, I appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with me, and you have a great weekend. Bye.